Welcome back to my channel, Famous and Fabulous. You won't believe this, but Johnny Depp is coming back. After many years of quiet time, many court cases, newspaper stories, rumors, and not knowing what would happen, he is going back to the world that made him famous. And the way he's doing it is amazing. He's working with one of the coolest and most creative movie makers, Terry Gilliam. For so many fans, this feels like the comeback moment they've been waiting for. The moment that says clearly and loudly that Johnny Depp is not finished. Not even close. And really, isn't that what makes this so cool? For a while, it looked like the movie business had moved on. Movie companies were quiet. Movies went away. The talk about Depp wasn't about his acting anymore. It was about his life, his court fights, his personal relationships, the endless guessing. Everywhere you looked, people were talking about Johnny, but not about his movies. For fans, that was sad because under the newspaper stories, under the noise, there was still the actor they'd grown up with, the artist who had given them characters that felt bigger than life. And the question stayed, would we ever see that side of Johnny again? Now we have our answer. This comeback isn't just about another part in a movie. It's about making a statement. It's about showing that some talents are too great to be erased, too special to be forgotten. It's about stepping out of the shadows and into a spotlight he once owned so easily. And doing it with Terry Gilliam, of all people, makes it even more special. Gilliam isn't just a director. He's arable, a dreamer, a person with big ideas. His movies don't play by ferrules. They bend them, twist them, and break them. He's the kind of director who loves chaos, loves taking chances, loves creating art that feels alive. Doesn't that sound like the perfect partner for Depp right now? Someone who understands what it means to fight against the system, to keep going even when things are really hard. If you know Gilliam's work, you know his movies aren't easy. They're not the kind of movies that fit into a simple category. Brazil is a scary, weird story about a future that feels too real. 12 monkey splays with time and craziness in a way that still leaves people confused. And The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, that Wasar movie that almost became a legend before it was even finished. It took decades to make, cursed by bad luck, problems and failures. It seemed like it would never be done. But Gilliam wouldn't give up. And finally, he made it happen. Doesn't that sound like the perfect mirror to Johnny's own story? Someone written, off, doubted, even made fun of, but still pushing forward until the dream finally comes true. And here's the best part. Depp and Gilliam aren't strangers. They've worked together before. Their creative friendship has always been strong. Depp was once supposed to star in The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, long before it finally got made with Adam Driver. Things kept that version from happening, but the fact that they're now working together again shows just how much faith Gilliam has in Depp. Because let's be honest, Gilliam doesn't choose actors because they're popular or because they're safe. He chooses them because they fit into his strange, daring worlds, and he believes Depp still has the power to do exactly that. This is why this comeback feels so much bigger than just another casting announcement. It says something about where Depp stands in the eyes of people who matter. Big directors still believe in him. Fans never left his side. And now audiences around the world are about to be reminded of why Johnny Depp was considered one of the greatest actors of his time in the first place. But let's stop for a second and talk about the fans. Because honestly, they've been the heartbeat of this entire story. Through every newspaper story, every battle, every moment when it looked like Hollywood might close its doors, his fans were still there outside the courtrooms, online in the millions, making hashtags trend, defending his name, sharing clips of his old performances. Their loyalty never wavered, and that kind of loyalty is rare in Hollywood. Most actors don't have it, but Johnny does, and this return feels like their victory too. It's not just his comeback, it's theirs, because they stood by him, and now they get to see him rise again. Still, there's the question some people whisper. Will audiences really welcome him back? Can he still draw a crowd? Can he still hold the screen the way he used to? And the answer seems pretty obvious if you've been paying attention. Every single time there's a new photo of him, every time he shows up somewhere, every little rumor about a new project, It takes over social media. People don't just notice, they celebrate, they share, they comment, they make hashtags trend right away. That doesn't happen to actors who don't matter anymore. That doesn't happen to people the world has moved on from. That happens to legends. And here's something most people don't know. When an actor chooses a comeback role, it's almost never about money. If it were about the paycheck, Depp could have taken any number of projects. Offers have always been there. But when your reputation is on the line, when your legacy is being rewritten, you don't pick something random. You pick something meaningful. You pick a director you trust. You pick a film that says something about who you are as an artist. And that's what Depp has done. Choosing Terry Gilliam isn't just a career move. It's a statement that he values creativity, risk, and artistry over playing it safe. History has shown us how powerful these choices can be. Look at Robert Downey Jr. before Iron Man. He was considered a problem. Studios didn't want him. He had baggage. And then came that one role, that one chance, that one director who believed in him. And suddenly, he wasn't just back. He was bigger than ever. He became one of the most successful stars in the world. Or take Matthew McConaughey. 4 years. He was stuck in light romantic comedies. People thought that was all he could do. But then, he took on bolder roles, trusted daring directors, and won an Oscar. His career was completely reborn. Depp is standing at the edge of a similar rebirth, a new beginning. A chance to show the world that his artistry is bigger than the headlines, bigger than the controversies, bigger than the noise. This Gilliam film could be the beginning of what people in Hollywood might one day call the Depp Renaissance. And honestly, doesn't that sound like something worth watching happen? Because let's be real, when you've seen someone go through the kind of battles Johnny Depp has faced, when you've watched the ups, the downs, the every public struggles, it makes a comeback like this feel so much more than just another role. It feels like Artistry of not giving up, a story of survival, and a story of someone who refuses to disappear quietly. Johnny's whole career has been about changing. From the very beginning, he wasn't the kind of actor who took the safe path. When he first came to Hollywood, he could have used his good looks, played the romantic roles, and coasted on easy fame. But he didn't. He chose roles that were strange, risky, and unforgettable. He made people see him not just as a star, but as an artist. Characters like Edward Scissorhands, Ichabod Crane, Raoul Duke, and of course, Captain Jack Sparrow weren't just performances. They became cultural landmarks. And behind each of those roles was an actor who believed in pushing boundaries, who believed in going places other actors wouldn't dare. That's why this moment feels so powerful. Because when someone like Johnny Depp makes a return, it isn't just about stepping back into a job, remakes, reboots, safe bets. But what audiences want are performances that shake them, stories that feel alive, and actors who can give them something unexpected. Depp working with Gilliam has the chance to deliver exactly that. And here's where it gets interesting. Think about how history remembers comebacks. We don't just talk about the failures, we remember the comebacks. Robert Downey Jr. went from being practically banned to becoming Iron Man, the face of Marvel's entire universe. Matthew McConaughey went from the romantic comedy guy to winning an Oscar and completely changing how audiences saw him. Even actors like Mickey Rourke and John Travolta had moments where they were counted out only to return with roles that reminded everyone why they mattered in the first place. And now Johnny Depp is standing at the same crossroads. This Gilliam project could be his Iron Man moment, his Dallas Buyers Club, his Pulp Fiction, the role that doesn't just bring him back, but redefines him for a whole new era. But let's not forget something important. Comebacks like this aren't easy. They don't happen overnight. They require patience, courage, and the willingness to face doubt head-on. Johnny has had years where the headlines were louder than his work. Years where people were quick to judge, quick to assume, quick to forget the artistry he gave to cinema. But here's the thing. True fans never forgot. They were still there, still supporting him, still flooding social media with love, still waiting for this exact moment. And that loyalty is something most actors would dream of. It's not just loyalty, It's faith. Faith that he would return. Faith that he would rise again. Faith that the Johnny Depp they admired for decades was still there waiting for the right moment. Toshini. And maybe that's what makes this comeback so satisfying. It's not about proving the critics wrong. It's about proving the fans right. It's about giving back to the people who believed when so many others didn't. And Terry Gilliam is the perfect partner for this. Gilliam himself has never been about pleasing the mainstream. He's battled studios, battled budgets, battled impossible productions, and still kept going. He's always been a fighter, a dreamer, someone who won't compromise his vision. And pairing that with Johnny at this moment in time feels almost poetic. Two artists who've been through the storm, who've been underestimated, who've been doubted, and who are still standing. That's not just a collaboration, that's a statement. When you think about it, Depp and Gilliam are both rebels at heart. Neither one fits into the neat, polished image Hollywood sometimes demands. Gilliam's films are messy, chaotic, and brilliant. Depp's characters are eccentric, unpredictable, and unforgettable. Together, they create art that feels alive. Art that breaks rules. Art that doesn't ask for permission. And maybe that's exactly what the world needs right now. Something raw. Something daring. Something that reminds us why cinema matters in the first place. And let's not overlook the symbolism here. For Depp, to return in a Gilliam film says something deeper. It says he's not trying to ease back into Hollywood by doing something safe or commercial. He's not chasing the easy blockbuster. He's chasing art. He's choosing risk over comfort, creativity over predictability. And that decision alone shows us that this comeback isn't just about making movies again. It's about making a mark. It's about leaving behind something meaningful. Now imagine what happens if this film is really good. Imagine their views praising his performance. Imagine the headlines shifting from courtroom battles to movie triumphs. Imagine the award conversations, the festival buzz, the momentum building around him again. Suddenly, doors that were once closed swing open. Directors who stayed quiet start calling again. Studios who hesitated want him back. That's how quickly the story can change in Hollywood. And for someone like Johnny Depp, who already has decades of iconic roles behind him, one strong performance could completely rewrite the history of his career. And let's be honest, hasn't that always been part of Depp's genius? His ability to reinvent himself, to surprise us, to give us characters that stick in our minds long after the credits roll. Think of how many times he's taken risks that others would have avoided. A pirate who slurs and staggers. People thought Jack Sparrow would fail. Instead, he became one of the most beloved characters of all time. A man with scissors for hands. It sounded crazy, but Edward Scissorhands turned into a modern fairy tale. A drugged-out journalist in fear and loathing in Las Vegas. Wild, crazy, and yet unforgettable. Depp has always done well with roles that seemed impossible, and somehow he made them legendary. So when people say this could be the beginning of a Depp renaissance, it doesn't feel like hype. It feels like history waiting to repeat itself. A career that has already had so many highs is about to reach new ones. Artistry that seemed like it was ending might just be starting its most interesting chapter yet. And isn't that why we love stories like this? They remind us that no one is ever truly finished, that even when the world tries to count you out, even when the noise gets louder than the art, talent has a way of breaking through. Not giving up has a way of shining. And legends always find their way back. Soyuz, Johnny Depp, is standing at the edge of a renaissance, a rebirth, a new era. And if you've ever been a fan of his work, if you've ever been moved by his characters, if you've ever felt that spark of magic he brings to the screen, then you know this is worth watching, because this isn't just about a film. It's about redemption. It's about not giving up. And it's about an artist reminding the world who he truly is. And maybe years from now, when people talk about his career, they won't just talk about the scandals, the trials, the headlines. They'll talk about the comeback. They'll talk about how Johnny Depp, against all odds, found his way back to the screen, back to the art, back to the heart of cinema. And maybe they'll call it what it deserves to be called, the Depp Renaissance. When you really think about it, this isn't surprising. Depp has always been drawn to the outsiders, the misfits, the characters, who don't fit into neat little boxes. Edward Scissorhands, Jack Sparrow, Raoul Duke. Even his smaller roles, like in Finding Neverland or Dead Man, carried this sense of strangeness, this refusal to play it safe. And in a way, that's who Johnny is too. He's never fit the mold of a Hollywood leading man. He's never been the predictable star. He's always gone for the strange, the weird, the risky, and that's why audiences connect with him. That's why this comeback feels so perfect, because it's not about him trying to fit in again. It's about him doing exactly what he's always done best. And think about the timing. Right now, Hollywood is in a strange place. Audiences are wanting something new. People are tired of the same formula being repeated again and again. They want something bold, something different, something that feels alive. Terry Gilliam is one of the few directors who can deliver that. And Johnny Depp is one of the few actors who can bring it to life. Together, they could give audiences exactly what they've been missing. So, what happens next? That's the exciting part. This film isn't just a comeback project. It's a door that could open to more daring roles, more collaborations, maybe even award season conversations again. And if it works the way fans hope it will, this could be the moment that redefines Johnny Depp's career for the next 10 years. And that's why people are talking. That's why fans are excited. That's why this story matters. Because it's not just about a film. It's about redemption. It's about not giving up. It's about proving that no matter how many times the world tries to knock you down, you can still rise. You can still shine. You can still surprise everyone. Now, let me throw it to you. What do you think? Do you believe Johnny Depp's return with Terry Gilliam will silence the critics once and for all? Do you see this as the start of a whole new chapter in his career? Or do you think this is just the beginning of something even bigger, something we can't predict yet? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments. And before you go, if you've loved Johnny Depp's performances over the years, you should check out the next video on this channel. We dive deep into his most famous roles and talk about why they still matter today. It's a trip you won't want to miss. And hey, if you enjoyed this conversation, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps. Subscribe if you want to stay updated on Johnny's journey, because this story isn't ending anytime soon. In fact, it feels like it's just beginning again. And share this with a friend who's still rooting for him.